The 2024-25 Women's Super League is on the horizon. In preparation, we're previewing every single team and discussing how they'll shape up over the next campaign. We take a look at the transfer business conducted by the team so far and offer suggestions of who else they should move for before the season gets underway. Today, we're talking about Tottenham. Last season was a huge step forward for Tottenham under new manager Robert Villaharm, and this season they'll be looking to consolidate that. With exciting incomings but equally disappointing outgoings, we discuss how strong the squad has shaped out to be. This is our 2024-25 season preview for Tottenham. Alright, let's talk about Tottenham then. Now we like to start these by going back through last season, talking about what went wrong, what went well, and how they can build on last season. So, a relatively successful year for Tottenham. It definitely felt like a step forwards. They beat Arsenal for the first time in, well, forever I think. It's been a very long time since they had. So, yeah, very good to do that. Obviously get that, over the line. They had an FA Cup final, which they lost, of course, to Manchester United, but to get there was still an achievement in of itself. And obviously 6th place in the league, which was one of their highest finishes in recent times. So it definitely feels like they took a step forward, Harry.
Yeah, very much so. I think when you look at it, finishing 6th, the 5 teams ahead of them have kind of been the stable hold top 5 in the WSL, and you know your City, Chelsea, United, Arsenal, Liverpool, they're the ones who've had the success. For Tottenham to finish in that top half as well was very, very strong. FA Cup finals was a brilliant occasion. Knocking out Man City in the quarterfinals on penalties was incredible. The getting past Leicester, which was a tough test in the semis, and they went to Wembley and they can hold their heads high because they managed to reach the final. A really strong campaign for Tottenham. You have to give credit to Robert Villaharm and the players. They did a brilliant job on the pitch. And it shows when you give a talented squad and a really strong manager some backing, he will deliver, and the squad did deliver. And for Tottenham, it is all about building on that success. It will be difficult because they have set the bar quite high for this season, but if they can match or better it, it would be a brilliant, brilliant campaign.
Yeah, definitely so. I think that Robert Villaharm has got some interesting tactical principles. I think we saw him start to implement some more modern football at Tottenham last season, and that was quite interesting to see. And I think that they had some real quality players, and they've added to that quality in this window. However, they have had a couple players leave. So let's talk about the transfer business so far. Then we're going to start with the outgoings. Up first, Shalina Zadorsky going to West Ham United. Not a huge loss. She was out on loan there last season, losing her permanently now. Not a massive loss.
No, not at all. And I'm sure she'll do well at West Ham.
Yeah, definitely so. Ramona Petzelberger then has also departed. She played quite a lot for them last season, so I was a bit surprised that they let her go. And she hasn't signed for a new club. So it's not like she wanted to leave and wanted to join someone else. She's not signed for anyone yet. I'm not sure what happened there. Because she has. I don't think she's retired, so maybe Tottenham just didn't think that she was the player to take them forward. Their midfield is quite strong. To be fair, there's a lot of people in there, so I can sort of see it. But she did play quite a bit of football for them last season, with Arton and Spence both having spells on the sidelines. Then Rhea Percival, who can play fullback. Again, another one who's played quite a bit of football for them over the last few seasons, but I think they've probably outgrown her now. They've brought in some real quality in the wide fullback areas, so yeah, I think they're all right in that regard. Asmita Ale, another one. She was out on loan at Leicester last season. Now she has joined permanently. She plays left back. Again, not a player that was Tottenham quality anymore, but I think she'll have a good season at Leicester. I think it's a club that suits her much better, and yeah, not a bad departure again. Nikola Karzuska, who I'll be honest, I hadn't heard much about until she joined AC Milan, but she's off to go play for AC Milan. She didn't play at all for Tottenham last season that I can recall. Not a huge loss. I think they will recover from that one quite quickly. Barbara Votikova going to Sparta Prague. This one really confused me because I thought at times last season she was better than Spencer. Yeah, they've let her go. I mean, they played her in the Arsenal game and she was really strong in that one. Yeah. But yeah, an interesting choice. I guess if she wasn't going to start, she would want to leave. But I thought she could have got a better club than that. Aston Villa in for a goalkeeper this summer. Could that have been a potential option? I'm surprised it wasn't, but yeah, Sparta Prague, it's an odd choice in my opinion, but I'm sure she'll have fun out there.
Yeah, it's one of those. You've got 2 top quality goalkeepers. I doubt Votikova was happy. They probably said to her that Spencer was gonna start. We know how good Rebecca Spencer is. It would have been hard to displace her again for Votikova, so she's seeking more football and fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then Chelin Bize, this one that came out the other day. For me, this is a huge loss. I think she's a really talented player, Chelin Bize. To already lose Grace Clinton, obviously she was on loan and she went back from her loan, and now to lose Bize, that is a lot of what made Tottenham so good last season, ripped out the side. Now, I know they've got players like Naz, like Wimberg, and obviously the new signing, Hayley Raso, which we're going to get into in a second, that will come in and replace them. But I just think they lose a bit of the balance in those wide areas. I think that Clinton and Bizet had such a strong connection last season. I was actually expecting Clinton to join Tottenham rather than Bizet to join United. So it feels like they've lost out massively there. But they've got players that will come in and do the job, and it'll be interesting to see whether Raso can replace what they lost through Bizet.
Yeah, exactly that. I think, Bizet was dangerous, but she was also consistent as well, and it is very hard to replace a player who delivers such good performances on a regular basis. But if they're new signings, or and it's a chance for other players to step up, it's a big loss. But if they can replace her, they should be able to manage it.
Yeah. Then let's look at their incomings then. Aria Dennis, the first one, joining from Arsenal, young fullback. She played quite well at the Under-19 Women's Euros over the summer. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how she does. I'm not sure she'll play a whole load of first-team football, but yeah, a decent player, and they'll be looking to develop her in that left-back position.
Definitely so. I think, as you say, she looked really, really sharp through youth teams across, playing obviously Arsenal and England, but... Yeah. If she might get some opportunities in the lesser games in the League Cup and in the FA Cup, but a very, very exciting player and definitely one for the future.
Yeah, and then a first choice left back, Amanda Nilden, coming in from Juventus. I mean, this is a big coup. I think that she's a really exciting signing, a really good player. I think that they've lost Ale, they've brought in. You've built in Nilden, I think that's an upgrade there. It means that Ashley Neville, who had a couple suspect games last season, will be more of a rotation player now. And I think that's a good thing. I think she's still got a bit to offer for Tottenham, but I think Nilden's just better. So bringing her in now, I think that's a really good signing.
Yeah, very much so. Nilden is a very, very good fullback, and I think Nilden is the greatest example, as well as these other incomings, that Tottenham are adjusting to that, playing that step up, playing that better, because they're bringing in ceiling raising signings, they're bringing in players that are just better than what they've already got, which is what you need to do when you're going up the league, when you're climbing the ladder. So it makes sense for Tottenham. They're bringing in a better left back.
Yeah, definitely. And then at right back, they've gone for Ella Morris of Southampton, a young full-back. Another really good signing, I think. Someone who will have that impact in a few years' time. They're definitely future planning, future-proofing this Tottenham team. So it's really smart signings. They know that by buying players now, they just won't be able to compete with the top 3 and 4 because they don't have the finances, they don't have the current players. But by buying young players, they could hope to get a jump on those sides. They could hope that those players will develop. And obviously, that's a cheaper way of squad building. Yeah. If you go and find these players at cheap prices or on free transfers when they're just 18, 19, and then develop them, well, either you sell them on for a low profit, in which case you can then, flesh out the squad, or you can spread that money across the squad, or you develop them and they play in the first team. So these seem like really smart acquisitions. I think Morris will probably be their backup right back this season, will probably get a fair few minutes. So, yeah, decent signing again. Then we've got Claire Hunt from PSG. She is a centre-half. It'll be interesting to see what they do at centre-half, because that does leave them now with 4 first-teamers. But there's a lot of competitions, a lot of minutes to go around this season, so I don't really see any issue with that. But yeah, decent signing.
Yeah, I like this one. It just gives you an extra option in there between Beulah and Bartrip, and I think Hunt brings a lot of experience. She's played at a very, very high level at PSG, and she's looked very, very good on the international stage as well. So it makes sense, an experienced centre-half in there just to help out with that rotation. Stronger rotation options are exactly what you want. She might come in and start. Who knows what's going to happen, but she's a very, very, very good centre-half.
Yeah, and then obviously the big signing, Hayley Raso, the 30-year-old who, when you look at her profile, has played for an awful lot of clubs. She's barely stayed in one place for more than a season. City at 2 years is one of her longest spells. Yeah. I think longest spell that she's actually played at a club. So yeah, she's definitely bounced around various teams, but she's at Tottenham now. She had a year at Real Madrid. They let her go at the end of the season, which was strange. Everything Real Madrid did this summer was really strange, but they have come out with a good team now, so maybe it was all worth it. But yeah, Raso plays on the right wing. Everyone's familiar with Hayley Raso. Was at Manchester City only the season before last. Really talented wide player, and I think she'll add a lot of quality to this Tottenham side. I don't know. I know a lot of people saying that she's an upgrade on Bizet. I'm just not sure. I like Raso, but I think Bizet's better right now and definitely had a higher ceiling. So in that regard, I think it's a bit of a loss, but they are making money off the Bizet deal and they are getting Raso for free, so you can see why they would be happy with that trade. And maybe you could make the argument Raso's better right now, but personally, I think Bise's a better player.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I'm a massive fan of Raso. I think she's a very, very good player. I think the big question will be if she will deliver. As you say, with that Bise comparison, Raso needs to come in and deliver early on. She needs to get involved in the goals, which I expect her to, because she knows the league. She's an experienced player. She knows what it takes. She can deliver high volumes of goals, high volumes of assists, in the best leagues in the world. And I think she'll come into this Tottenham side, and I think she will perform. And if the players around her can help her out as well, I do think that she will join. She will help this very, very strong Tottenham front line.
Yeah, well, she's not going to be the only right-wing option that could replace Bise, because in comes Anna Suzuki as well then from BK Häcken. Häcken have had that team completely torn apart this summer by WSL clubs, so hopefully Häcken are alright. I think they've got Arsenal in the Champions League, so it'll be interesting to see what their team actually looks like now that nobody plays for them. But Suzuki, an interesting signing for Tottenham. This is the youngsters we're talking about, a young right-winger that's going to come in, learn under Hayley Raso, and they'll be hoping that she has a higher ceiling than Bise, and in which case they'll have Raso in the short term, Suzuki long term. So I think in that regard it is smart signing. It's sort of the same thing on the left hand side. No, Naz isn't as old or as experienced.
Yeah.
We've got Naz who's slightly older at 24, I believe, and then obviously Matilda Wimberg at 20. So they are setting up quite well to have these young players understudies for these older players, where they can rotate them into the side, give them some regular minutes, but still have these experienced heads for those big matches. So it's really smart recruitment, I think, from Tottenham. And well, if they're looking to make us strive up the WSL table, I think this is the best way to do it, because yes, you could invest a lot of money, and maybe that there's an argument to be had as to which method is better, but this is definitely the cheaper and safer option. And it means if this doesn't work in a few years' time, playing this long-term game, then they can spend the big money in a few years' time. But yeah, it's definitely that long-term investment to try and grow this club organically, rather than just throwing money at the issue. London City Lionesses. But, well, to be fair though, they look like they're going to win the Women's Championship, so maybe do just throw all your money at it. But yeah, let's have a look then at how Tottenham's squad looks then on the squad screen. So I've put it in the 4-3-3 they tend to play last season. What it's going to look like, because obviously they played a 4-4-2 for some games last season, so what this team will actually look like could differ massively. We could see Naz up front, we could see England and Thomas up front, various different formations. But I'll put it in the 4-3-3 because I think it gives you the nicest understanding of where everyone's going to play and how this squad balances out. So obviously in goal, they've got Spencer, they've got Heaps. Spencer's going to start pretty much every game, so I think they're all right in that regard. But if they do need an option, Heaps is there. It's definitely a downgrade on having Votikova as a backup, but equally, if Votikova didn't want to be there, it's not worth having a player like that around that squad. Exactly. Then at right back, they've got Charlotte Grant and Ella Morris. Really nice rotation there. Grant came in last season and proved herself to be a really handy option and a really talented player. So I think she'll do all right in that role. Then at right centre-half, obviously they've got Hunt now to compete with James Turner. And then left centre-half, Bewlett and Bartrip. So as I'm saying, they've got 4 centre-halves there. You can easily pick any of those two to line up in a back two. And it looks quite strong. So I think that's really handy. You can afford an injury or two in the back line and probably still be okay. Then at left back, I've not put in Aria Dennis because I don't know how much first team involvement she'll have this season, but they have got Nilden and they have got Ash Neville. So I think Nilden will take the majority of the minutes, but I think Neville will be there as an option as well. Obviously Ash Neville, we know, can play right back as well. She's a very versatile, very experienced player. But I think a lot of Tottenham fans last season, as much as they love her commitment to the club, I think a lot of Tottenham fans were starting to say, well, maybe she's not the player she once was. Maybe we need to be looking to the future. I definitely think bringing Nilden to play that position looks like that decision to move forward. So, yeah, I think we'll see Nilden start more this season. In defensive midfield, then they've got Olga Artinen, who I think is very talented, one of my favourite players in the WSL, which pains me to say because she plays for Tottenham, but I really like Olga Artinen. Then in the rest of the midfield, they've got Spence, they've got Kit Graham, they've got Suminen, and they've got Wang. They often played a midfield 3 last season, so having 5 players in there who can all do a job, it's very helpful. Suminen can just as easily play that slightly deeper role. Artinen could just as easily play the slightly higher role. So they've got manoeuvrability in there. And, this midfield can look very different depending on who's in there. If it's Artinen, Spence and Kit Graham, for example, we expect Artinen and Spence to drop slightly deeper and Graham to get forwards. If it's, Suminen and Wang, then, Wang will be the one probably pushing forwards, but Suminen can also get forwards. You've got lots of options in there. There's a lot of variability, which I think is very helpful because it means that you can change up how your midfield looks against different opponents. If you're playing Chelsea and you know you want Olga Artinen or Drew Spence to follow Lauren James's every move, you can have another defensive midfielder in there to facilitate that. So they've got a lot of options in there, and I think that's definitely helpful. And then on the left wing, they've got Jessica Naz and Matilda Wimberg. two players I rate really highly, and I wouldn't be surprised if we did see Naz start through the middle and Wimberg on the left, and then they have a really aggressive counter-attacking team. But I think with Clinton gone, they're going to use Naz as an out-and-out left winger this season, especially given Wimberg's the only other left winger and they have got a lot of strikers. So
yeah,
I think that makes sense. Naz, Wimberg, two players I rate highly, as I say. On the right wing then, a lot of unknowns this season, but we should, is it unknowns because Hayley Raso is a player who should give you undeniable quality, and then obviously Suzuki as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how good Suzuki is. I don't know enough about her. She's definitely not one of the standouts at Hecken because Kafai took all the headlines, but she is a player who can come in and do a job. But yeah, Hayley Raso, obviously the standout signing. And then through the middle, they've still got Beth England, they've still got Marta Thomas, two really potent, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Clinical
Deadly
strikers. They are deadly finishers. So those two, both really real quality. I think they want a younger player who can play through the middle, but as I say, Jessica Naz can do that, so they're not exactly, under... They haven't got no one in there. So it's going to be interesting to see what this Tottenham team looks like. But it's looking good. It's
a really nice side. If I was a Tottenham fan and any other fans, I would get very excited about this Tottenham side.
The recruitment's been so smart. It's a really well balanced team. You look at some other teams, and Manchester United have got like 5 left backs and no one playing in goal. And then you look at the Tottenham side, they've got 2 players pretty much for every position, bar defence midfield. But then they've got players in the other positions who can drop in there. So they've built this squad really well.
Yeah, really strong rotation. I think defensively they look really solid. I think my one criticism would be that last season defensively they were a bit of a liability. They got thumped by Man City away, and there were some really tough games in there defensively.
Even in the Arsenal game they won, they conceded a lot of shots and they relied on a lot of saves from Potico.
Bringing in Nilsson, bringing in Hunt just gives you that extra strength defensively. I think going forward they're a very dangerous outfit. England and Thomas can both find the back of the net and put up double figures. I think Raso will come in and deliver, and Naz is quality. Wimberg for me is one of the players to watch this season. Davies' season last year, she looked pretty tidy. She's adjusting to the league. This season, if Wimberg hits the ground running and delivers to her potential, she could just fly. And I really hope she does, because she's a very, very good player. And I still think if she can find that next level that she does have in her locker, then Wimberg could be a very dangerous player for Tottenham.
I remember the game at the Lake Sports Village between Tottenham and Manchester United, where she looked really exciting.
Yeah.
It was a few weeks before the FA Cup final, and obviously we were building it up, going, this is sort of the precursor to that game. And from that, I thought Tottenham would go in and win the FA Cup, because they looked so much better than Manchester United in that game. The occasion, I think, got to Tottenham in the FA Cup final. But Wimberg looked really exciting there. And if she can start to show that on a more consistent basis... Well, I've already been considering her for my fantasy WSL team, because I think she's going to have a good season, but I'm just not sure she's going to start the early games. But really exciting player, Matilda Wimberg, really exciting.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned the FA Cup final there, and when we say how strong this Tottenham side looks, there's a reason they've made it look so strong. It's because they are now at the level where they're going out to compete for trophies. They were 90 minutes away from silverware last year. That's why they've built the side so strong, because they want to go and do that again. And as I said, they've got to aim to try and better what they did last year, which will be tough. But I look at the 11, and going into the season, I think Tottenham have got a good chance.
Yeah, we'll get into season expectations in a moment. Let's talk first 5 fixtures then, because those opening games can have a make or break impact on your campaign. Up first, Crystal Palace at home. What a lovely way to start the season. A game that really should be comfortable for a team of Tottenham's quality, and obviously Crystal Palace recently promoted. They should be all right in that regard. Then Aston Villa away. I actually think Tottenham might have the most difficult fixture list of any of the teams.
Maybe.
Lovely start with Crystal Palace. Then they go Villa away, Liverpool home, Manchester United away, Chelsea away.
Wow.
That is incredibly difficult. The only way it could be more difficult is if they opened up against City.
Yeah.
That is incredibly difficult. And obviously had an Arsenal game or something like that in there. But really tough start to the season for Tottenham. I think if they come away from the first 5 matches with 6 points, they've probably done okay. However, if they are looking at competing with Liverpool, Manchester United this season, they could equally set a precedent and
That's the thing.
If they get 12 points in their first 4 games, then they have to play Chelsea and probably lose, if we're being honest, then I think they take that. I think they'd be very pleased with that.
I think a reasonable, target is 6 points. I think 12 points is definitely,
I think 9's reasonable. I think
maybe.
given that Liverpool and Tottenham were fairly close last season, given that Manchester United and Tottenham were fairly close, one of those two games for me will need. I think Liverpool at home as well.
The main thing is that they can go out and get 12. Realistically, they do have the ability to go and get 12 points. I think Chelsea is just a stretch too far.
However, it's just as easy to see them coming away from this with only 3 points or 4 points, and they've had a really tough start because yes, they're close to United and Liverpool, but they could just as easily edge those games, and we don't really know where Villa sit right now. So Aston Villa could be a real tough match. In that regard, it's mental, but they after 5 matches going into that international break, they could be sat bottom or top of the league based on how they perform against teams like Liverpool, Manchester United and Chelsea. So some really tough ones in there. If they win them, they prove their mettle, and obviously then they've got easier fixtures after that. So they're in a really good position. If they lose them, I wouldn't hit the panic button just yet because it is a really tough start to the season for Tottenham. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much. Expectations for this campaign then. 3 competitions for them this season. What are they aiming to do, do you think?
I think as much as I say they need to aim to match or better what they did last year, that is going to be very difficult. I think the FA Cup final was it wasn't a fluke because they deserved to be there, but in terms of it was definitely there were definitely circumstances that should have never really happened in terms of the fact that Leicester, Tottenham and Man United all got to the FA Cup semi-finals. There was no Arsenal, no Manchester City. I think that was a big surprise. That doesn't usually happen. You give credit to Tottenham because they did knock out City, but it took City to knock out Arsenal. I think it fell nicely last season for a lovely cup run for Tottenham. I think if that happens again, I would be very, very surprised. So I think the main thing would be we'll go pretty deep in the Conti Cup and the FA Cup, but in the league with the prerogative, top half once again will be the main objective for Tottenham. Get into that top 6. If you finish above United or Liverpool, happy days. But 6th again isn't too bad of a result. So definitely for Tottenham, maintain that top half position.
Yeah, I completely agree. Don't have much to add to that. I think obviously they would love to get to another cup final again, but to expect to win it would be simply dreaming because I think the quality of other sides in the league, it's very difficult to envision them doing that. In the WSL, realistically, they're not going to finish top 3. No. They might be able to get 4th or 5th. I don't really know where United are going to be this season. I don't really know where Liverpool are going to be. So there's a lot of unknowns there. But I think they'll believe they could get 4th or 5th. Yeah. 6th, again, that stabilisation is really important. And considering I don't think their current squad quality has taken a huge leap, I think they'll probably finish around 6th again. Yeah. The only doubt for me is where Aston Villa fall in all of this. Because if they have done enough over this summer, which I think a lot of people could argue they have, maybe they'll jump Tottenham. And if Tottenham were 7th, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think they'll be somewhat disappointed because last season, obviously, they managed to finish 6th. But it's very variable. I think it's tough to call because there's a lot of sides between 4th and 8th, and a lot of unknown in the bottom half of the table that we can't really predict what's going to happen. Yeah. So, going to be interesting to see what happens over this campaign. I'll be intrigued to see. But that is everything for our preview today. If you want to go and watch more, we've done a preview for every WSL club so far. West Ham, the only one left to go. That comes out tomorrow, so look out for that. And if you want to go and watch the rest of the playlist, you're more than welcome to. If you want to watch our one from yesterday, which was on Manchester United, that will be on screen now. So if you are still ruining the loss of Clinton and Bizet, this is why they're going to do really well at Man United. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.